Synganic growing combines both growing with organic and synthetic inputs, but there's a lot of folks that are confused on how to go about that. Do you add synthetic inputs first and then organic? Or do you add organic first, then synthetic? Or are you adding them in together throughout the entire grow cycle? In this video, I'll show you exactly how I'm growing synganically, why I'm growing synganically, and we'll check in with the plants and show you how they're doing overall. Let's get into it. Okay, so it's been quite a while since we've checked in with these plants. Huge difference from before. Before they were like about this tall, all four of them. Now they're almost wall to wall at this point, so huge difference. Anyways, we've got 4 plants here in this grow tent. First one right here is Icarus Wings by Prism Labs, and this one seems to be the biggest out of the bunch. Warp back a couple videos ago and you saw my seedling video, and this was the runt out of the bunch, right? Now look at it, it's huge. It's much bigger than the other plants in here. So big change. I mentioned that video, hey, we just need to be patient. We need to give it some time and it should bounce back and turn out to be a nice plant. That's exactly what it looks like so far. On the back there is Bubble Gaz by iCan Seeds. That's almost about the same size. Then over here we've got Blueberry by DJ Short and Skunk #1 by Dutch Passion, which is the smallest out of the bunch, but it's more rounded. All these plants look healthy and I have been growing them synganically. So why grow synganically? Well, mostly just for content, but I think a lot of people grow synganically without even knowing that they're growing synganically. A lot of people start out with some sort of potting mix that has organic nutrition in it. So it'll have some nutrition for the first 20, 30, 40 days of its life, depending on what pot size it's in. Then they'll be adding in synthetic nutrients for the remainder of the grow. So technically, a lot of people do consider that synganic growing. Some people do it the opposite. They'll start off with growing in a mix like straight cocoa or in a potting mix with very little nutrition in it. And then they'll be adding synthetic nutrients to begin all the way until they get into flowering. Then they'll switch over to organic, trying to get the best of both worlds with having the fast growth rate with precision feeding and veg, and then for flowering, being able to utilize microbes. And people swear you get a better terpene profile with organic inputs, growing organically, relying on that soil food web. And so some people will have their whole flowering stage in an organic or living soil, growing with organic or all natural inputs. You could do it either way. Both are considered growing synganically. You can also stack things along the entire grow. So you could start off with that organic mix and then add in a light dose of synthetic nutrients throughout the entire grow while you're adding in organic inputs throughout the entire grow. So there are several different ways to go about it. How I went about it here is started out in bioflower soil, which does have some nutrition in it to begin. It's a cocoa heavy potting mix and typically lasts roughly 30-40 days. These are in 5-gallon grow pots, and it's lasted about 35-40 days until I actually started adding in some nutrients. First thing I added in was a 1/4 cup of stash base. So I added that to the top of each medium, put some bioflower soil on top of it to help ensure that that lower medium helped ensure those amendments stay moist underneath it. Watered it in, of course, using Stash Blend alongside. Every other week I use Stash Blend, just basically mix that into water and then water the plants with it. So I really only did that one top dressing with Stash Base. And so that's the organic or all natural inputs. And then it was a very light dose of Athena nutrients. I'm using the Athena blended without fade and did about a 1/4 dose according to the feeding chart, and then flipping over to flower. Was able to flip over to flower. I think I flipped to day 45 of veg, if I remember correctly. And now we're on day 12 of flower. So day 12 since flipping to a 12-12 light cycle. These are all photoperiod plants, so they need that light cycle. They need that continuous period of darkness in order to build up the hormone called florigen, which is a flowering hormone. And so the plants will start to flower with that darkness. Anyways, upon flipping to flower, I think it was day 3 or 4 after switching the light cycle, I went in with a 1/4 dose of Stash Bloom. So a much lighter dose of Stash Bloom in each of the containers, watered that in with Stash Blend. And then I've just been doing a 1/4 dose really in the reservoir. I had a 1/4 dose of Athena the entire time. So I've really been, for the most part, commingling both the organic and synthetic inputs throughout the entire grow cycle. And that's how I'm going to continue the grow from here on out, as I'll just have a 1/4 dose of Athena in the reservoir. I actually have this hooked up auto watering system. They're both on tray to grow. All 4 plants are on it. It's hooked up to the same reservoir, which is just a 5-gallon bucket off a Home Depot. Drilled a hole in the side, and then again, just putting a 1/4 dose of Athena in there at all times, really with no drybacks. Some people like to do dry backs, specifically with synthetic inputs. But since we're in organically, I've got some organic nutrition in there that needs to be moist in order for proper breakdown. I haven't been doing dry backs. I've just been kind of keeping the medium moist at all times. And this soil, like I've mentioned in past videos, is a lot more airy. Well, it seems to hold more moisture as far as a percentage, what you see on the EcoWit moisture meters, the app shows. But for the most part, the plants thrive in it. You know, it's not overly compact. There's a lot of oxygen that's within the root zone, and growth has just been excellent. So this is what we're seeing here so far. And just to talk about some other aspects of it, training, I want to get into that. Really, I topped these plants, I believe at the 4th node, if I remember correctly, all 4 plants, and then just been kind of utilizing my hands for low stress training and also bud trainer clips. So at this point, I've taken all the bud trainer clips off. I used it a lot heavy in the veg stage in order to shape these plants the way they're shaped. I do actually have one bud trainer clip on there still, which I'm about to actually take off. It just needed, that one branch just needed a little bit more attention as far as bending that down to allow the other branches to catch up. But for the most part, no ties at all. And this is something that I used to think was a requirement. Back in the day, I felt like every pot needed to tie down these branches in order to get that even canopy. But you can really get away without doing that, just using those bud trainer clips, utilizing topping. Some people utilize super cropping as well. I didn't have to utilize any super cropping in this one, but for the most part, got pretty even canopy. Sure, there are some branches that are smaller throughout there. I'm okay with that. Don't really need this to be perfect, but I'm happy with how things are so far. You should have seen this a couple days ago. I actually lollipopped and defoliated twice so far, once before flipping a flower and then once on day 11 here, which was yesterday. And these plants needed quite a bit taken off. Growth has just been so vigorous. I do like to leave some of these larger fan leaves on. I know that's kind of frowned upon by some people. They're like, hey, just take off the large fan leaves. If they're lower, they're not hurting anybody, they're not overlapping with any other plants, I'll leave them on. Some people will consider them not only solar panels to receive that light, but nutrient banks as well. So if there was some sort of deficiency that was happening, I'd be able to at least see it. If it was like nitrogen toxicity that usually starts at the lower part of the plant from the tips working its way up. So I'd be able to see that, then take action. Versus if I remove those leaves, I wouldn't be able to see it as clearly. So that's just personal preference. So many people go about it so many different ways. So in the past video, I did mention the size of the plants that I planned on growing, and actually brought out the tape measure. Let's see if I was right or if I'm wrong. I mentioned that these plants would probably be about 2, maybe 3 feet tops, and then maybe about 1.5 feet wide. And so right now we're at 29 inches tall, and this one is 2 feet wide, a little over 2 feet wide. So I lied to you. I grew a little bit bigger than expected, which is okay. These were actually wall to wall before I defoliated, but I did take quite a lot off, a lot of the branches that were kind of lagging behind. Yeah, everything is looking good so far. We're all primed up. We should be stretching for another 10 days or so. I'm thinking it'll stretch for, and then from there, it's just all bud production. So lighting has been pretty dialed in here. I'm on 7 out of 10 as far as the dimness. So we're at 70%. Light distance, looking at about 15 inches there. This is another about 15 inches. If we really want to get in, and we're looking at about pretty much 15 inches all around as light distance on a level 7. And that has been getting about 900, just under 900 ppfd, which is where I like it in flowering when I'm not supplementing CO2. Environment has also been pretty dialed in. Now this is something that's been a little bit different here. I normally aim for about 78 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit. This has really been staying about 73, 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Why? Well, I think it's because this inline fan is turning on so often. Now with more leaves on here, there's higher transpiration. Humidity is able to increase in the grow space much quicker. So this has been having to kick on just so it doesn't get too humid in the environment. And the air in my lung room is about 73 degrees Fahrenheit. And so it's just bringing it in constantly, and it's staying at that 73 degrees Fahrenheit, which I'm okay with. A lot of people actually run it 70 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. I know a lot of people like to stick in that range, and growth has been fine. So I'm perfectly okay with where things have been. I actually took out the humidifier. Don't need it, didn't kick on anymore. Like I said, transpiration, these plants have just been transpiring, releasing humidity in there. And that should be like that for the rest of the grow. So no need to run a humidifier at this point. So I want to mention that one. Now there is one one thing that I'm a little bit concerned about I want to get into before we end this video, which is I think one of these plants is a hermaphrodite. I just noticed this before I started filming. I look over and I'm like, oh no, this looks like a pollen sac. Oh no, these look like pollen sacs starting to form alongside with pistils. So intersex traits I think is what I'm seeing. I'm gonna say it here in this video. Hopefully next video, this plant is still here and I was mistaken. So please pray for me. Keep fingers crossed that it's not actually one, because that's the skunk number 1 by Dutch Passion. I've been wanting to grow a skunk number 1 again. It's been quite a long time, but oh jeez, yeah. The more I look at it, the more noticeable it becomes. So fingers crossed that this isn't actually intersex traits and that this plant continues on. But hey, that happens sometimes. Unstable genetics. I'd never grown out the Dutch Passion skunk number 1 before. I know there have been a handful of people that have commented on my last video. Some people complained about it not being good. Other people had complimented, saying it's been very good for them. So I don't know. We'll see what happens from here. If you haven't already, please sign up to my email list. There's a QR code on the screen right there. That's why I announce special releases that I don't announce anywhere else. That's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in this time around, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.
Thanks to AC Infinity for sponsoring this episode. Check out their Controller AI Plus, the first controller to use artificial intelligence to run your grow for you. Connect your grow devices to the Controller AI Plus and pair it with the AC Infinity app to gain access to the AI tools that predict, learn, and adapt to patterns and spikes for the most optimal environment. There is a lot more to it, so click the link in the description section below so you can learn more about their Controller AI Plus, and the discount code MrGrowed15 works on both Amazon and their website, acinfinity.com.